At Jack, go pleasure yourself. And brand new installment of Nintendo News Report for Thursday, August 2nd, 2018. I'm your host, Donald Terriel. I'm running the show this evening as Alex is out with what can generously be described as an upper body injury. Should be back next week. But we do have two of the other regular Nintendo News reporters with us here this evening. Justin Berube. Hello, Justin.
Hello, Donald.
And joining us from Alaska, where I believe it is still going to be sunny in about 4 hours, Mr. Zach Miller.
It's pouring rain, but yes.
Well,
at least until the end of the month.
Yeah, we could use some of that because we've had like a week and a half straight of nothing but 90-degree humidity.
Oof. None of that, thank you.
Yeah. So let's sort of kick off here with what we've been playing. Justin, you seem to have the biggest thing on the list here, at least to put the most time into it, because you finished the Splatoon 2 Octo expansion.
Yes, I did, and everything I thought about it from the start stayed true to the end. It's the best Splatoon single-player campaign there is. It's better than the first game, better than the second game. I'd argue better than the first and second games combined. There's no garbage like looking around for the hidden levels. You just pick a level, you play it, and the levels are much more creative than anything else in the Splatoon series. And the ending set of sequences is a ton of fun. And there is a bit more challenge to some of those levels too than you'd find in the other game's single-player campaign. It was just a lot more fun. The levels were much more creative, and if you're a fan of Splatoon, you definitely need to get the Octo expansion because it is the definitive single-player Splatoon experience. There's really no reason to go back and keep playing it. I mean, the one weird thing is every time you pick a level, or for most levels, it gives you an option of different weapons, and you'll get like a slightly better reward for completing the level with that. But it doesn't seem to matter at all. Once you beat the game, it doesn't give you anything extra as far as I go.
Oh, that's odd.
Yeah. But it was worth playing. It's a ton of fun. Go download it. Worth the price.
Was there any particular level that gave you a lot of trouble? Because I know I watched my roommate, who's really good at Splatoon 2, play it, and he had a lot of trouble with the zip line and balloon one.
I think I had some trouble with that, but one of the levels that gave me the hardest time was when you had to defend this point in the middle as all these octolings kept like dropping in.
Yeah, you have a bunch of weapons, but they're coming in faster than you can get the weapons out.
Yeah, so you had to figure out what to do real fast there. And it took a few tries to actually understand what their pattern was and to just know where to be at the right time.
So now that you've got it beat, are you gonna go online and start wrecking people as an octoling, or?
Yeah, I might do that. I prefer the octoling, so I'm gonna stick with that.
All right. So Zach, you got a couple of the more independent things here that I believe both of them came out today.
Yes.
Along with like 20 other games here.
Yeah.
So which one do you want to hit first?
Let's talk about Not a Hero first, because I can be quick. Not a Hero is published by Devolver and developed by Sum7, who did Ollie Ollie. And it's did I get the company name wrong?
Sorry. That's fine.
What? Okay. I don't have it in front of me. It's a shooter that's very simplified and super pixely. It's I don't really know how to describe it. So you have this giant building that's two-dimensional platformer, and you move between floors and crash through windows, and you have a mission like hang up campaign posters, or find this one mobster, or kill all the gangsters. And you do that by tapping B to get to cover, or tackling people, and Y to shoot, and X to use a secondary weapon if you find one. And that's kind of the whole game. There are primary goals to each stage, and then there are 3 secondary goals, which are often brutally hard, like unreasonably hard sometimes. And I don't know. I like the game, but it gets a little long in the tooth. Some of the levels are too long, so when you mess up, you go all the way back to the beginning. You don't have lives, so that kind of dampens it for me. But like Alex, if you're watching this, just go buy Not a Hero because you will like it. I think it's your level of difficulty, and it's kind of Hotline Miami-y, just side scroller instead of bird's eye view.
Yeah, that's the impressions I was getting looking at the screens that we got for your review here. That yeah, this definitely the way you're describing it definitely sounds a lot like Hotline Miami. It's just the perspective slightly different.
Yeah, and I will say that like you unlock more characters as you complete more goals, and some of the characters have hilarious one-liners. They're all European, and all from different countries. It's very funny. Some of them are very funny. I like that a lot. But yeah, don't play it on handheld or tabletop because the game doesn't shrink well. Things get very small, almost imperceptible sometimes. Play it on your TV. But it was fun. Fun enough.
So you've got another one of the day's releases here that I've heard a lot about, but I've not really. I'm kind of scared off of it just because of the kind of game it is. So, what's the deal with Iconoclasts?
Okay, Iconoclasts is really, really, really good. The game when you're playing it, I'll say that it's Metroidvania-like. You have your character Robin has a like a ratchet that she uses to move through the environment and solve puzzles and knock enemies over the head with, and she also gets more guns as the game goes on, and your stuff is upgraded like Metroid as you go, and it's beautiful. It is just gorgeous, and the animation is just top notch. Right up there with like Shantae, but higher definition than Pirate's Curse, of course. Where it stumbles is there's a lot of story, and a lot of characters talking to each other. And the subject matter is kind of interesting. It's kind of these two opposing religious factions fighting each other. And I assume there'll be some twist coming, but just so much talking. It's you don't usually see that in a Metroidvania platformer. We're talking like JRPG levels of chattiness. And you can skip it. You just press start, but then you're kind of missing out.
Yeah, bring a book for some of those sequences from the sound of it. It's weird though, because it's like I remember hearing that this game is essentially developed by one person, and then they have like what 5 or 10 people on the voice cast.
Really, there's no voice acting.
Oh, okay, so it's all. If there, I can see it being like one person dev team, 10-person voice cast if there was one, but shows how much I know. Shows how much we're able to follow these things that I completely missed that there was no VA. But
well, your character Robin she's kind of your typical silent protagonist, but when people ask her name, a little, her word bubble is just a picture of a robin, which is cute.
Nice.
But, yeah, it's a really fun game when you're playing it, and I've been suffering through the cutscenes, but I really like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. So there's one game I'm surprised that you're not playing right now, but I guess you're waiting for a physical copy to arrive for Coda Princess.
I just got my physical copy today. I'm excited to see how it compares to the 3DS game. I think it's the exact same game. Just looks better.
It's the same game, but it runs at like 4 times the frame rate.
Oh, that's helpful. And well, I guess the 3DS game had online play too, if you were willing to go down to stop motion video frame rates. But yeah, I'm excited to play that. But good lord, that game cannot get a good illustrator on the cover to save its life. It was terrible on the 3DS, and it's terrible here.
Probably the
There's
best
a
one's
reversible cover, but the reverse cover is the 3DS cover, which I also despise.
So you're saying the best cover for this game is on Steam?
Steam or maybe the cover project if they're doing Switch covers. What was I going to say about this? Oh, you know how Nicholas always puts stuff in their boxes, in their Switch boxes?
Not so much this time.
This was kind of disappointing. It's an instruction manual, which they've been putting in all their games, which is cool. Color manual. But then the only other thing is a mini CD soundtrack sampler, which I assume is the same soundtrack sampler that came with the 3DS game.
I recall that the sampler for the 3DS game had like 6 songs on it.
Yeah.
Granted, I still have one of those because the battle theme is pretty good jamming music, but yeah, that was Atlasian in its limitation, shall we say?
Right. And I think in Japan, they've been getting little plastic standees of random characters, like a blind box, like they did in Cave Story for key rings or keychains. I was kind of hoping we'd get something like that, but that's all right. I just wonder what they put in the box of Blade Strangers now.
Hopefully not an actual blade. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I do have. So after my little rant last week, some plans opened up, and I actually had a bit of time to sit down and play a couple of things. I did start finally Octopath. I got
okay.
And I happened to pick the exact two characters from the first demo, which kind of good the writing was for especially Primrose.
Mm.
And it didn't take me long to finish her quest either. I had to do some grinding, but I was basically done and out and beating up the guy who told to go pleasure himself within an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, the first chapters of this are pretty short, I think, but the later ones are going to be the ones where the time investment will be necessary.
Okay.
Yeah.
They do all
and then what I'm
speed up, right?
What I'm doing, because the chapter ones are sort of arranged in a C shape, and then I started with Primrose down at like the southern tip of that, and working my way east to get Ulberic, the warrior type guy, and then the merchant Tressa, and then I'm going to swing back around and pick up the other 5 guys, and then by the time I get to the last one, Primrose's chapter 2 will be due north.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good way to do it.
It helps when you have the map there to sort of show how to break that through. But the other thing I did is I actually managed to beat Mega Man X on the X Legacy Collection.
Had you not done that before?
Oh no, I'd never beat it on the original Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
But it took until the GameCube Mega Man X Collection before I finally beat X.
It's a good collection.
Yeah, and the first collection is good. The second one is let's not and say we did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, something I do want to say about the Mega Man X collection is, while the game gives you the original option to switch the button layout, you can't switch the L and ZL buttons around. So if you want to move dash to the L button, like I like to do, it has to be the L button and not the ZL button. And my problem with that is, on these game controllers, the ZL and ZR buttons are where your fingers naturally rest.
True.
But for a lot of this was a problem on Wii U as well, where they're like, oh, the primary button is going to be the L or the R button. It's like, okay, I understand that's what it's called, but that's not where my finger naturally rests, so that shouldn't be the default button.
I'm surprised you don't just press A. That's what I've been using for 15 years.
The problem with A is makes it hard to charge and do a dash jump at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it
that's
requires like
true.
brisk type thing. So it's a little bit, you can do it, but it's a little more difficult. So I prefer to put it on L just so you have more ease of access to the movement options. The
Double
more,
tap
Yeah.
forward. I do that too sometimes.
yeah, that helps.
Yeah, but I was kind of lucky that I just when I had to do big dash jumps, I wasn't really charging, so I was able to sort of do the AB. But it would be nice if they were to acknowledge the existence of ZL and ZR before Mega Man 4
But
or X4.
it does work in the challenge mode. So yeah, so the first
Really?
3 games might be a problem.
Yeah,
Yep.
first few.
The challenge mode is interesting. I can kind of see myself getting into that, but there's not a lot to it. It's kind of it's just a timed, it's leaderboard based, which is fine, but it's kind of cool. I like the idea.
It's a cool idea. I just don't really see a purpose to it all.
Right. Well, they had to see. This is my problem with the both collections and the Mega Man Legacy collection, the original Mega Man. It all feels very sterile. Like, here's these games and like nothing else. I know there's artwork and merch photos and music, but there are no. I said in my review, I called them extracurricular Mega Man games, like there were in the GameCube collections. You had Battle and Chase and the 2 arcade games. I'm not going to say those are all excellent games, but they're there, and they're interesting from a kind of a historical perspective. And the X games have their own historical curiosities too. There's the Extreme games for Game Boy Color, which are both excellent, and Maverick Hunter X. Now you can watch the Maverick Hunter X cartoon on this collection, and it even says this is a prequel cartoon from Maverick Hunter X for the PSP, but you can't play the game. I think that's kind of dumb. The Maverick Hunter X, also good.
Forgetting one other curiosity.
Well, that's for the second. The second collection should have
Command Mission.
Command Mission.
Yeah.
Because it takes place, I think, directly after 8. Either between 7 or 8 or directly after 8. I don't really remember, but it's a weird RPG. And I just, these are historical curiosities that are not being saved, I guess. Not being preserved in any way.
No, I agree with you. And I thought the merchandise section was very weak because I have a bunch of Mega Man X toys somewhere from the Jazzwares line, and there's not even one of those.
I have no way of knowing how good that merch section is, but I figure you'd have a much better idea.
When it comes to Mega Man stuff, I'm not like the authority or anything, but it didn't seem like there was much there to begin with, especially when like you consider there's been so many Mega Man X action figures and models and stuff released in Japan over the years. There wasn't that much, so it just seemed like whatever people had lying around.
Might be. Yeah. It might be.
Yeah, which goes back to my fear with a lot of video game stuff is like a lot of this extra merchandise and things like that aren't being preserved well or documented well at all. So it reflects, that theory reflects perfectly in that section of the collection here.
And the other aside from Battle and Chase and 2 arcade games, Mega Man Soccer not being preserved. I mean, maybe thank God, but and Mega Man and Bass for either the Super Nintendo or the Game Boy Advance. I think it plays like shit on the Game Boy Advance, but on the Super Nintendo, I've always wanted to play it that way.
Yeah, I wish we got that in one of the regular Mega Man collections.
Yeah,
I think it's actually considered Mega Man 8.5. Like it's actually, I think when you beat Mega Man 9, it showed all the endings of the previous Mega Man games, and I think Mega Man and Bass is shown there too. So it's
10,
like
10. When you beat 10,
yeah,
it shows the previous 9 in a numbered games, all in 8-bit, which is cute.
What they should have done with that, if Legacy Collection 2 had thrown out 8 and put Mega Man and Bass in there, I probably would have bought the retail collection instead of just buying one on the eShop.
I'd never played 7 or 8, and they're both awful. I had some idea going in that 8 might be better, but it's not at all.
No.
Because the screen, the aspect ratio, they didn't change it from the PS1 games. So Mega Man is huge, or Zero, or Axel. Axel is stupid. So it's almost like the screen is too vertical, and you're running blind. It's kind of shitty.
Yeah, and as Don is correctly pointing out in the chat room, maybe they should have thrown out the original Mega Man and put Mega Man Powered Up in there.
Amen, right? Dude, that game rocks. I can only assume that the reason it's not in there is because the level editor includes ghosts and goblins stuff. I don't know. That wouldn't be a problem because Capcom owns them too.
I don't know if I like the retconned Mega Man bosses.
Oh, I wish that Powered Up series had gone on. I really like that art style.
I remember that Powered Up never came out digitally, so I had to get a UMD for it. And I'm not even sure if my PSP still works.
How are you going to watch all your movies?
The only reason I keep my PSP around is for Mega Man Powered Up.
Yeah.
So get Mega Man Legacy 1. You can probably wait for a flash sale for Legacy 2.
You talk about
5.
X.
Mega Man X5 is okay. Which one's the one with the T-Rex? Is it 5 or 6?
I think whichever one has Bamboo Pandemonium.
I think that's 6. 6 is terrible. 5 is basically 4, with multiple armor sets for X and the ability to switch out between X and 0, which is cool. But then 6 it all goes to hell.
I think the first 3 are worth playing, and
absolutely.
After that,
Did you play 4 on this? I haven't played 4 since the GameCube.
Yeah, the last time I played the other ones were probably the GameCube collection. But the first time I played X4, I got it on PC because I didn't have a Nintendo. It ran fine, but
oh yeah,
yeah.
I think it kind of looks awful.
No, it looks awful, especially jumping from like the nice artwork and everything from the first 3 games. You go to that, and I'm like, what? It makes the whole game feel sloppy.
Yeah,
it's harder to tell like if you're landing on things, if I remember correctly, like what platforms are allowed to like touch and everything. It just feels a lot sloppier of a game, and it just
because they're those hideous Capcom loves pre-rendered backgrounds on their PS1 games.
Yeah, it's awful. They just should have stuck to the SNES style. So and that brings me to something we were talking about before the show started: is they need to make Mega Man X9 in the Super Nintendo style and just stick with that. Don't do this other garbage unless
maybe off Axel in the opening cutscene.
Yeah, well, they should just be like, yeah, just forget anything that happened after X3. Here's like the new X4 timeline.
There you go. the Blomkamp Mega Man 9, X9. So there you go.
Yeah. So maybe if Mega Man 11 does really well, then they maybe go back to that. Well, we'll see.
I'm very hopeful for Mega Man 11.
Yes.
Me too.
All right. So getting to the news of the week here, such as it was, warning a large bit of financial talk is approaching fast because Nintendo released their first quarter financial results for the 2018/19 fiscal year. Spoilers, they made a lot of money. Just a shade under 400 million US.
Yum.
On revenue of $1.5 billion, based on rates. As far as hardware and software, they did not change their estimate as to how many Switches they're going to ship this fiscal year, but they only shipped 1.88 million units of Switch hardware, which I figured that was probably going to be what, 2 or 3 million maybe, but. Then again, Labo didn't exactly set the world on fire. They had a couple of remakes in May, and then things picked up after E3 with, well, let's say at Fortnite.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Labo, do we know how well that did? Did it just not do well?
The combined shipments for the two Labo kits were 1.39 million, and they have not said how many of those actually sold, but I can tell you I can pretty much walk into a store and see plenty of Labo kits hanging around.
Yeah, same here actually. I'm not. I like the Labo I got, but I'm not compelled to get this vehicular one.
I think it looks much deeper than any of the other ones.
Oh, it does. I just don't have any room for this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looks like the big money maker for Nintendo, as you would expect for a console maker. They shipped 17.96 million units of software. That's up. That's more than double what they did the same quarter last year. Now, granted, Splatoon 2, Mario Odyssey, Kirby, Xenoblade 2, those were not out this time at the same point last year, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was, and yeah, they've more than doubled their unit sales. So they, even if they don't hit their hardware goal this year, they're definitely going to hit the software goal.
Nice. Yeah, they're on fire.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, and DKC Tropical Freeze 1.4 million, Mario Tennis Aces 1.38.
Wow.
And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe shipped over 1 million in one quarter and is up to 10.3 million. Second best-selling game on the system. Mario Kart Wii and DS to a lesser extent really did something to the Mario Kart fan base and made it absolutely ginormous. To the point that it took less than a year, and 8 Deluxe had already outsold 8 because people actually own a Switch.
Right. You know, I played Mario Kart DS on a Lark the other day. It is not aged particularly well, but you can definitely see like where that series went from that to Wii.
Yeah,
it's a straight shot.
Minus snaking.
Yeah, snaking.
Although they could stand to bring back that mission mode that was in DS.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, we kind of had
single player content.
Yeah, we kind of had something like that, didn't it? With like the weekly or bi-weekly challenges
Yeah.
that kept through, which it's really horrible. There's no way to play those anymore. Why it wasn't just like look what we've unlocked permanently for you, like every couple of weeks. It was because all that stuff has to be on the disc already, right? You're not downloading anything.
Good question, actually.
It was dumb the way they handled that.
Yeah. I might still get 8 Deluxe. I'm undecided.
I still have my copy that I got on launch or late launch weekend, and it still gets quite a bit of play. Like it's replaced 7 as the big game when I get together with friends to play Nintendo stuff for a few hours on the weekend.
Nice. Yeah, I can see that. It's an excellent game. It's just it's great.
But you've owned most of it. Although, I mean, with the Zelda stuff and hell, the Labo support, you've got things there that are definitely not coming to 8 anytime soon.
True. That Breath of the Wild motorcycle is kind of a cool thing.
I guess so.
Oh, Justin, I forgot to ask. How many Korok seeds are in the Splatoon 2 Octo expansion? And did you get them all?
There are no Korok seeds. There's no dumb garbage to collect at all in the levels like in the other single-player campaigns. Like when you're just squirting everything with ink and looking under everything for a stupid item. I don't remember what they were. It was very forgetful.
They were pages. They were pages of a book.
Pages. You don't have to look for any of that stuff. It doesn't exist. It's just play the game and have fun. Like, don't worry about the nonsense. I mean, that is one thing I'll be critical on with Nintendo, with a lot of their single-player campaigns. I'd rather the challenge come from the level design and figuring out how to approach things. But so many times, especially in the new Super Mario Brothers series, just find all these things hidden in the level, and it just slows down your progression to a crawl as you look for them all.
And Donkey Kong Country Returns is even worse.
Yeah, that does it too. But I feel like those things were like really challenging, so
They could be, yeah.
yeah. So it was a little better with like the Mario stuff. It was most often not challenging to get them. It was just challenging to figure out where some of them were because they were put in such dumb places.
Right.
But that's going off track here, but I thought I'd mention it while we're on the topic.
Yeah.
And Dan's saying that they weren't that hard to find the pages. They weren't hard, but like you had to waste time from playing the level to look for them instead of just actually doing the level itself, which I think it just broke up the pace in the wrong way.
All right. Well, getting back to the numbers here. Then the other big news of the week was due to various delays and a late reporting period ending. We finally got the June US NPD survey. And what would you guys say if I told you the best-selling system of the month came out in 1985?
I heard about this.
I'd say it's well deserved, and it's the best Nintendo system ever made.
Yes, the NES Classic Mini was the best-selling bit of hardware in the month of June, which means they actually ship significant numbers of it to the United States, and B, well, it's $60.
It's weird that I see SNES classics in the wild every day, but I've not seen an NES.
I've gone about 2 for 3 on seeing an NES Classic on the shelf at Walmart.
Okay.
So, yeah. So NES Classic top selling unit sales hardware of June. Switch up 50% over the same year, over June 2017. I want to say that at this point the supply constraints were over, so that is actually pretty impressive.
Okay.
And best selling game of June, all formats combined, Mario Tennis Aces.
You're kidding me.
Nope.
Wow.
And the non-Nintendo games on the chart have the advantage of having their digital sales included. So, yeah, that is the best-selling tennis game the NPD has ever tracked in its first month.
What's the next non-Nintendo game on the list?
For this month, the second place went to Dad of War.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Which surprising legs for a single-player game that doesn't really have a online component.
Right. But, I need to play that.
Yeah. There was Mario Tennis led 5 Nintendo published games in the top 20 combined, and then there were 4 multi-platforms.
Oh my gosh. They're doing good.
The only problem is Sushi Striker didn't even Sushi Striker on 2 platforms didn't make the top 20 and didn't make the individual platform top 10s.
There's a reason for that.
Are you suggesting it's not very good?
No, I'm suggesting that it's a price point that people are like, eh.
I don't think it's that great, and I've played a couple hours of it. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I mean, other people disagree with me, as you can see by checking NintendoWorldReport.com. But I just feel like the game relies on a lot of luck and just spamming stuff. It tries to pass itself off as this puzzle game, and I guess to a degree it is. But once things get hectic, you're just hoping to get the right colors a lot of the time, and
so like Tetris Attack.
Tetris Attack, I think people really know what they're doing when you hit like a skill level, but I feel like Sushi Striker is just a lot of luck.
I should probably maybe I'll pick that up on 3DS in a few weeks. Hopefully have a couple of weeks off work.
Did either of you get WarioWare?
Amazon's not going to have it for me until at least next week. So at that point, I may just wait until that holiday time and just play it then.
It doesn't come out here till tomorrow, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. It's Thursday today. I'm a moron.
Yeah. Question from Cherry Goblin in chat. What's up with this fitness boxing? In Nintendo's financial report, they have a list of all the games they're going to be publishing for the foreseeable future, which is basically everything they've announced. And Imagineer is publishing a game in Japan called Fitness Boxing that Nintendo will be publishing here in North America and in Europe.
Oh.
It's basically a Joy-Con. It's basically EA Sports Active meets Fight Night. At least from the sound of it, like it's designed by a Japanese fit boxing association.
Oh, that's interesting.
An association with. So getting into some of that motion control stuff, but it's not going to be the centerpiece. I think it's due in winter, so probably comes out the same day as Smash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no word on if it's even getting like a physical release. All right, so there's 3 smaller things that I want to go here. Do we want to do the monster collecting, the new physical publisher, or Rule 63?
I think we should end on Rule 63.
Okay. So first up, the new Digimon RPG, which will celebrate the 20th anniversary of the anime coming to the West, will be out on Switch next year, which I think will be the first Digimon game for the platform. Because I know previously, like the Cyber Sleuth and whatever the sequel of Cyber Sleuth was called were both Vita games, so naturally those things will migrate to Switch.
Yep.
I'm just not a big fan of the concept of a survival RPG, although apparently this one's supposed to be more of a beginner's guide to Digimon, so maybe it'll be worth checking out. Another one of this week's eShop releases, which is also the official service of the NWR forum, Salt and Sanctuary. They said there would be a physical release, and it's coming October 30th from it to stores, and it's being published by a new company called Leadman Games, which is actually headed up by former Nintendo indie head Dan Edelman.
Oh yeah, I read about this. It's a weird name for a company.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Leadman. It's spelled Leadman, so maybe it's Leadman.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they're the lead men for publishing indie stuff on physical discs, but there's a lot of competition in that space now.
Yeah.
Between Super Rare, Limited Run, and now these guys.
I don't know if this is a game I'd enjoy, but it looks real pretty.
It's. Did you play Bloodborne?
Yeah.
It's like that, but in 2D.
Nope.
That pretty much is my reaction.
God bless him for trying, though.
Yeah.
There's an audience for that game, clearly.
Yeah, and it did pretty well on the other platforms and Vita, so I don't see why it wouldn't do. Probably doing quite well here as well, but we'll find out probably next week.
Before we drop the last story, I don't know if you guys saw, but they actually have full games available for download on the My Nintendo site for gold coins.
Yeah, it's mostly been 3DS and Wii U stuff, but I know they dropped a couple of big ones this month actually.
So the 4 are Runbow Pocket for 110. A game whose name I can't really pronounce. It looks like a dance game.
Is that Noichu Love Devolution?
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually a 2D shooter. I reviewed the Wii U version of it, and actually, it was pretty good. And I believe if you get this version with the gold coins, they had a limited cross-buy with that, where you could get the Wii U version of it for 50% off.
So the same as Severed, which is the other game on this list for 3DS.
Yeah, although that one it's total cross-buy in that case.
Oh, it's total cross-buy, okay. And then the last one is Freedom Planet for Wii U, but I mean, it's on Wii U, so I might get Runbow Pocket because I never played any of the DLC for that. Even though I have it on Wii U and Switch. 110 coins is hard to pass up, though.
Yeah, and given that they've changed how you earn gold coins now, like if you bought something I think $5 on Switch will give you 100.
Damn.
So pretty much you buy one Switch eShop game of any sort of import, then bam, there's your coins right there.
Wow. Okay.
I did the same thing to get 30% off Super Mario Maker for 3DS at some point.
Oh, there you go.
On the Greg Leahy strategy of let's just play this for the stuff that Nintendo made.
Right. There's I might get Rainbow Pocket, but I'd also kind of want to save my coins up for Hollow Knight.
Fair enough. All right. The final story. As we all know, SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy is coming out on Switch September 7th. And today they introduced a new character. They brought back a classic SNK fighter, Terry Bogard. And if the art that is out there is accurate, they have basically gender flipped Terry Bogard.
Yep. It's weird, but it kind of works.
Is this character in any other games?
Yeah, Terry Bogard's in every
But is he female?
Fatal, not Fatal, King of Fighters.
He started in Fatal Fury. Like he's one of the three main playable characters in Fatal Fury. His brother Andy and Joe Higashi, the other two, and then they moved into King of Fighters, and they're in pretty much every Capcom crossover. He's one of the main SNK mascots. So,
is there a gender bent version of this character in any other game?
No.
Okay. This is almost like something that's been done that's making sense to be here, or if you know what I'm saying.
They needed to fill their roster, and Terry Bogard's a famous character.
And although they're still spelling the name Terry.
Oh yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, I've seen Terry. Terry's a gender neutral name. Usually, I fully expected them to just change it to an I. Because that is the generally accepted feminine version of it for the English version, but I guess not.
Wonder if we're going to see any other gender flipped characters. Maybe they're running out of female SNK characters to throw in their fighting game.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I mean this is Terry's what, the 8th or 9th character they've announced for the game?
Yeah, at least.
I know King of Fighters has a pretty extensive lineup, but I'm not sure the gender ratio on it.
Oh yeah, me neither.
Yeah, but still very interesting that they're electing to basically take on some of the how can I put this politely, some of the more interesting fan art that I've seen from the series.
Now they'll be able to make even more interesting fan art.
Yeah. This fan art is now canon. God help us all.
Terry Bogard x Terry Bogard.
Anyway, that seems like if we're shipping somebody with themselves, we'll just skip the debate as to what that actually ends up being, and let's just bring this home.
Okay,
please.
Yeah. So, if you head over to NintendoWorldReport.com, that's the mothership with all kinds of reviews this week, including 2 from Zach, the aforementioned Not a Hero, and Mega Man X. He also has a second opinion on the Mega Man X Legacy Collection.
And I will soon have one on the Mega Man X Collection too. Don't expect a good score.
Yes, and Justin's review, of course, of Arcade Archive Sky Skipper. We've also got reviews of things coming up this week: Flat Heroes, Salt and Sanctuary from Neil, and WarioWare Gold from our chat room friend Don Koopman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You can also keep it locked to this here YouTube channel if you're watching live for some video reviews, as well as some discussion of one of the more unique accessories in the Switch pantheon, the Hori D-pad left Joy-Con. Oh yeah, with actual D-pad, but does it hold up? Well, Perry will tell you in his video look. You can go to patreon.com/NWR to support the site that supports us, get early access to video features and some of the things that we're working on. Also, if you want to bug Zach and Justin on Twitter, Justin is at King Nintendo Fan.
Yep.
Zach is at ZMiller1902. And rather than go looking for me, maybe go check out Senior Lariato. He's got some really good gifts from the G1 Climax Wrestling Tournament. All right, but that is our show. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.